Hi everybody, this is Boogass Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the brand new Neca store exclusive Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990 movie 35th Anniversary Action Figure 5-pack. So before we take a look at any of the other turtles, let's go ahead and take a look at Leonardo and his accessories. So first up you get one of 3 backdrops, and I think it's really awesome that Neca included these as accessories. So the first one here is the sewer backdrop. Up next you get the farmhouse backdrop, and for the final backdrop you get the rooftop. So I think it's really cool that Neca included these. All of these look really awesome. Up next he comes with a set of accessory holding hands, and all of the hands in this set are universal to each of the turtles, so I'm going to try and go over them really quick here. Up next he comes with these flat hands, pointing hands, these relaxed hands, and for the final set of hands that you can use on any of the turtles, you get these thumbs up hands. He comes with 2 different mask ties, the one that's relaxed on his shoulders, and then you can change it with this one that's flowing in the wind. And it's a little tricky to get in there, but you'll hear it pop. And I think that looks pretty cool. I'm pretty sure this came with the previous 2-pack turtles, if I remember right. And finally, he comes with his swords. We've seen these used numerous times with all of the previous movie Leonardo figures. This time, it looks like there's a bit of a heavy black wash on the blades, though. I don't recall that actually being on the previous ones, but yeah, you actually get this black wash over top of the blades. And of course, he has storage for them on the back of his shell. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at this head sculpt. So taking a look at the head sculpt on this figure, it is exactly the same as the 2-pack Leonardo. I think this is also the same body mold as the single-release Leonardo from GameStop. And I really thought there would be more differences on this. Like, there's some subtle paint differences, like I think the shading on his arms is a little more prominent, and the colors are a little bit brighter on him. But honestly, there's not a whole lot of difference between these two. I will say there's a lot of difference on his shell. On the front of his shell, you get some really nice shading to the outside, that kind of brownish color, and you don't get any on the 2-pack version. The black paint in between the shell, they did paint a little bit on the 2-pack version, but it's kind of haphazardly put on. I think this is put on a lot better, though you can see that there's not really a whole lot towards the edge of this line right here. So yeah, the only real difference on this figure comes down to collars, and even then it's not really a huge difference. The biggest difference on all of these turtles is now they use ball-jointed hips as opposed to the hinge hips that the old ones used, but the Battle Damage Leonardo actually used ball-jointed hips. You get some subtle paint changes on the sheets on his back here. I think the colors are a little bit more vibrant on this one. And I think the browns are a little bit darker on his shell. You can see that there's a lot of light brown paint on the 2-pack version, and it's a little more subtle on this one. The colors are a little bit darker on this. I also wanted to look here on the sides. I guess the paint on his sides is a lot better. The way it fades from that black and yellow into the brown for the back of his shell, it was pretty heavy on the 2-pack release. It kind of just goes from solid black to brown, but this actually fades into it. So I do think the paint on the sides of the shell is actually a little bit better. I also think that the spots on his legs are a little more prominent the way they painted them. And here he is next to the recently released Battle Damage Leo from the Shredder 2-pack. You can see that the colors are even different on this version. The shell is really noticeably different. But this does use the same body mold, since this one has the ball-jointed hips as well. So now, let's go ahead and go over his articulation. So the only turtle's articulation I'm probably going to go over is Leonardo's, because the articulation is exactly the same on all of the figures. You know, I'm not going to bother my viewers to watch all of the articulation when it's exactly the same. So he has a ball-jointed head that can look up all the way. He can look down all the way. He can move his head side to side and around very nicely. The mask tie does swivel all the way around here. He has shoulders that can move out that far. He has double jointed elbows that can bend in that far. They are a bit hindered because of the elbow pad right here. It can move side to side very nicely though. He has swivel wrists that can move side to side and up and down. He has a ball jointed diaphragm here. Because of the sculpt of the shell, it really only rocks back and forth a little bit, and side to side very slightly. He has ball jointed hips that can do a complete split. He can kick forward all the way, but one thing I noticed on all of these turtle figures are the joints are pretty tight. They do move, but they make an awful noise whenever you do. He has a decent thigh swivel. It can move pretty nice. He has double jointed knees that can only move back that far because of the knee pads. It also does move side to side very slightly. And ankles that can move down all the way, up all the way, and a nice ankle rocker. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at Raphael. So first up, he comes with the relaxed mask tie. Up next, he comes with the flowing in the wind mask tie. And finally, he comes with his size. Of course, they can be stored on the front of each side of his belt there, and in his hands. So now let's go ahead and take a look at his head sculpt. So taking a look at the head sculpt on the new Raphael, the collars are more vibrant on him as well. I think that's going to be the main difference on the collars on the brothers, is the collars are going to be a little bit more vibrant. I think the shading is a bit more prominent, and so is the spots on their skin. You still get the really cool texturing, but you can see right here, the light collar shading right here above his mouth is way more prominent than on the previous versions. It was more subtle on these, and it's much more prominent on the new version. You can see that his shell also has more shading to it, just like Leonardo did. I will say the black in between his shell right here, it's still haphazardly painted on. You can see that it was haphazardly painted on the 2-pack version, and it's haphazardly painted on this one as well. I definitely wish they would have painted that just a little bit better. One thing that does irritate me about this particular figure from the set is you can see where they didn't cut the piece right here, the elbow joint from the mold properly, so I did split it. I mean, you can articulate it, it's just they didn't cut it from the mold properly, so you have some excess plastic right there. On the new Raphael, his shell, the collar is a little bit more subtle. I think the brown is a bit more vibrant on the old one. And like I said, of course, all of the new brothers have ball-jointed hips, and these older ones had the hinge hips. The shading is much, much more prominent here on his calves, his calf muscles, and running down his shin right here. The shading is much more prominent on that, and even on his feet there. So yeah, the differences on this one, just like with Leonardo, mostly come down to the collars on him. So now let's go ahead and take a look at Michelangelo. Let's look at him next. So Michelangelo actually comes with some pretty cool character-specific accessories. So first up, he comes with the pizza box. You can see it says Tile Game Pizza. I like that it said delivered in 30 minutes, maybe less. One thing that is incredibly detailed, let me get that in frame here, is you can see that the name is M. Angelo. You can see the date and the driver. The place right there, the label for the name, that is actually really detailed. You can see that it says drivers carry less than $20. And then on the bottom, if you did not order penicillin on your pizza, please discard right away. I love the detail on this. It is just simple. It's kind of like flimsy cardboard, I guess you'd call it. But I do like that they put the details of the grease there on the bottom. And this actually has pizza inside it. You get 4 pieces of pizza, which you can use this for any turtle, of course. I do wish we'd get some updated pizza. I'm pretty sure this is the same pizza that's been used on all of the turtles. I mean, the paint's decent on it. You get some texturing on the back there, and the toppings are painted pretty nicely. But I do wish we'd get some new pizza for the movie turtles. And you also get 4 slices of pizza that's been eaten back to the crust. You can see that this is plain pepperoni. And just like on the bottom of the box, on the inside you can actually see where it looks like they cut it, and some grease stains as well as some crumbs. So that is really detailed and very awesome looking. Up next, he comes with the marshmallows that he's roasting on the fire, and the stick is sculpted really nicely, and I especially love the paint detail to the marshmallows here. The paint is printed on there, making them look like they're a little charred. That looks really awesome. And then you have his bag of marshmallows. I don't want to stretch out the regular accessory holding hands, so I use the pointing hands. It actually fits in there really well, and that looks really good. You can see that it says Jumbo Marshmallows. I think these might have been Stay Puft if I remember right in the movie. But the bag is done in this translucent, I think it's translucent plastic, and then just has the marshmallows printed on there. But it still looks really good. I really love these accessories for him. Up next he comes with his alternate mask tie. And finally he comes with his nunchucks, and we've seen these used on the previous Michelangelo figures as well. I think the original releases actually had string on them, but the releases after that had wire. I definitely wish Neca would use a better wire though, because these really don't hold the shape the way I'd want them to. I mean, they do shape, you can shape them a little bit, but not as good as I'd like them to. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at him. I think Michelangelo has the most changes in terms of paint. I especially love the paint on the eyes. The paint on the 2-pack version, I'm not going to lie, I think his eyes are a bit creepy, but I think the eyes are painted so much better on this version. The colors are more vibrant on him, especially here in the mouth area. You get the shading around his shell, which looks really good. I think the black in between the shell pattern right here, I think that came out decent for the most part. The skin tone on Michelangelo is a bit lighter than this version. You get some more prominent shading. It looks like the shading's in the same parts. Or maybe it just looks a little more prominent because of how light the skin tone is on this new one. Yeah, the skin tone's definitely a lot lighter on him. But like I said, I think the paint apps on him are probably the best. I think he has the best improvement. The bandanas, I think the original one is slightly lighter. It's really hard for me to tell. There is more of a black wash on this new one. I did notice that. There's a pretty heavy black wash on the mask ties back here, as well as on the masks. And then if you look here at the back, you can tell that the shell on this original one is a lot brighter, and on the new one, it's a lot darker. And the shading on the... I really noticed that on all of the turtles in this 4-pack, the shading back here on the calves is really, really heavy. You can see it's more subtle on the original release, but man, it's really heavy on this new one. And of course, he has the updated ball joint tips. So yeah, I think he is probably my favorite turtle out of this set, just because I think he has much improved paint from the 2-pack version. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at Donatello and his accessories. Okay, so I hadn't previously tried to take the mask tie off of Donatello, and it is stuck. It doesn't want to come out. It feels like I might... Okay, I didn't break it. I actually thought I broke that on camera. So that was actually stuck really bad. So definitely be careful when you're switching these out. He's the only one I've actually had that issue with. Well, that went in there pretty nice. So there you have his mask tie. Alternate mask tie, I should say. I did have that one there wrong. And finally, he comes with his staff. This is still sculpted really nicely, but man, it still feels like a really fragile plastic. I feel like this is one time they should have pulled a McFarlane and made this a really soft material, because I actually did break one of my staffs. I can't remember how I got a replacement, but I did actually get a replacement. But yeah, this still feels really fragile. I'll most likely just leave him posed like that. That way I'm not taking it in and out of his hands and possibly breaking it. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at all of the details on the final turtle in this set. So here he is next to the previous 2-pack version, and just like with the other turtles, the colors are slightly different. The colors on the new one are a little bit brighter. I think the shading is a bit more prominent. You do get a little more shading on the head. You don't get the spots like on this one. You get the spots there by the mouth and on top of the head. You do get some spots right here, but you don't get them on the side of his face or on the top of his head like on this original version. I also think the shading is a bit more noticeable on his mask here. I think their shading on this one is just really subtle, but it's really concentrated in spots. Like you get some right here, that darker purple, here and here. So you get 4 spots. You also get some more shading here on the mask tie. I think that's really concentrated. I wish it would have been a little bit more subtle like on this 2-pack version. And I feel like the shells could have been painted a little bit better in between the pattern there. I feel like the paint on both of these is kind of haphazardly put on. I do like the shading on this one though. The shading, I think that looks really good. I don't really see a whole lot of shading on this one. I do think there's some shading. It's just really subtle. It's more noticeable in this new version. The elbow and knee pads are a little bit darker on this one. Doesn't look like they have variation in between them like on the 2-pack versions. It has black on them. If it does, it's actually, yeah, it might. I think it's just my eyes. And then on the backs, It's really subtle, but the shell on the new one is a little bit darker than this one. I don't think the black wash that they did is as noticeable in this new one either. You also get the ties in the back. Now these irritate me because every Donatello figure I have, somehow these ties always end up coming loose. Like this one. I tied it right before the video and somehow it came out. So yeah, I don't really mess with these too much because somehow they always come loose on me. So now, the moment that everyone's been waiting for, let's go ahead and take a look at the star of this set, Spirit of Splinter. So for Spirit of Splinter's only accessory, you get this campfire. And this is retooled from the Friday the 13th campfire. I noticed that the logs and the fire are the same. The bottom's just different because this lights up. But I love the translucent blue flame right here, as well as the shading that they did on the rocks and the wood right here. That blue shading looks phenomenal. And then you just slide this on, and I love how it flickers. And if the room is actually dark enough, it actually does illuminate Splinter really nicely. So yeah, I think that looks incredibly awesome, and I am so happy and thankful that Neca gave collectors a second chance to get this figure. I think this was my biggest TMNT regret, not getting Spirit of Splinter, so I'm really happy that we got another chance to get him. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at his head sculpt. So taking a look at this head sculpt, it does reuse the head and the body from the regular Splinter figure, but this time it's cast in a translucent plastic. I think it's like this translucent brown plastic. And I love the variation you get over it. You get this light blue, this dark blue, a little bit of, it's almost like a whitish color. You get so many tones painted over top of his fur, and that looks really good. I think the paintwork on this figure is very, very impressive. And if you lift his sleeve up right there, it's painted just as well. Man, that looks really good. I am very impressed by the material that Neca used for his robe. It looks really good. It's very shimmery. I don't know if I've actually seen a material used like this for anything before. The way it reflects different colors and lighting, that just looks superb. I just love how this looks in hand. That material looks really good. You can see how it kind of reflects like greenish and then blue, depending on the way you have it in the lighting. That just looks really good. Neca chose a very, very awesome material for his robe. The only bad thing is it is kind of like a strand kind of material, so the sharp points of his fur do poke through the strands right there. You can actually see, where was it? Right here, where his fur kind of came through there, so I kind of had to try and put that back together. But the fur on his elbows is really bad about poking through there. So that does worry me a little bit. It is a really nice material, but because of what it's made out of, his fur pokes through it really bad. No matter how many times I do that, I might actually sand the sharp points down. That way it doesn't get through the material there and possibly rip it when I'm articulating him. You get his bendy wire tail, though the wire feels like it's going to snap whenever I'm posing it around. You can see that they used a very heavy wire, and it doesn't really want to articulate, and I don't want to break it. You know, I don't want that snapping. I don't think it would, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend moving this around very much. And even the paint on the feet and the legs looks really good. I think his feet are cast entirely in translucent plastic, with a little bit of brown painted here at the ends, and some light blue paint right there. And even the legs are painted really nicely all the way up. They wouldn't have honestly had to have painted that, since his robe's going to be covering that up, but I'm glad they did. It's just sculpted and painted really well, and as I said, I am extremely happy that I finally got a chance to get him again. So now, let's go ahead and go over his articulation. So he has a ball-jointed head and neck that can look up all the way. He can't look down at all. I could have swore the original version could do that. He can move his head side to side really nicely, and all the way around. He has shoulders that are really, really stiff on mine. The right side does move out, but the left does not want to. He has double jointed elbows that can bend in that far, but you can see his fur starting to poke through the elbow of the robe right there. He has wrists that can move up and down and spin all the way around. I think he has a ball jointed diaphragm and waist that can move back and forth very slightly and side to side slightly. Does he have updated hips? No, he still has the hinge hips. So let's... Okay, that's a bit scary articulating that. I know these old hips could be really fragile. So yeah, let's not try to push that. He can kick forward all the way. Let's try and get that back down. He can kick back all the way. He has a single jointed knee that can bend in all the way and move side to side. He has ankles that can move down all the way and side to side really nicely, and toes that can move up all the way. So overall, hopefully everyone that wanted this set was able to get one. This was a Neca store exclusive, and it is sold out now. I'm not going to lie, I really only got this set for Spirit of Splinter, because even with all 4 turtles included, this set was still cheaper than getting a single Spirit of Splinter figure. So I am glad that Neca finally re-released this figure. As I said, I think that was my biggest collecting regret with Neca, was not getting him. So I think it's good that Neca finally re-released him. It does suck that you did have to get 4 other turtles that really only have minor variations from the previous ones to get this Spirit of Splinter, but overall I'm still pretty happy with this set. I also think it's good for collectors that missed out on the 2-packs and single releases of the regular 1990 brothers. You know, not everyone's able to get them when they come out, so I think this was a good chance not only for collectors to get Spirit of Splinter again, but the brothers if you weren't able to the first time around, or second time around. So yeah, even though the brothers don't have a whole lot of difference to them, I'm still pretty happy with this set. I mean, Spirit of Splinter looks really cool. He's hands down the star of the set, but I don't think the turtles are that bad either. So, that's my review. If you like this review, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.